and welcome back to Chaos in the Paddock. I'm your host, Chiara Martin, and I have a very, very, very special guest with me to cover the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I have Tiana. Hi!
Hi! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. The Las Vegas Grand Prix, we were just talking about it, chaos, but I'm so excited to be here. Chaos in the Paddock, chaos of a Grand Prix. It really just makes sense, and it's really what we needed this week.
I don't know if that's what I needed this week. I wanted something quite more straightforward, but before we get into the podcast and get into whatever the hell happened, why don't you tell our lovely listeners who you are, what you do?
Okay, so my name is Tiana. I am the founder of From the Field to the Track, which is a Formula One ex-NRL podcast, blog, whatever you want to call it. I do social media as well. I'm an aspiring sports journalist. I love Formula One. As you can tell if you're watching this on your computer screens or wherever you're watching it, I am a huge McLaren fan in the background. So I've just loved Formula One since 2021, which I got into it during Abu Dhabi, funnily enough, and I've loved it since then, and I've never looked back, and I'm so excited for this episode, and I'm so excited for the future of what is in store.
2021 is such a wild year to get in. Why did you choose 2021? Oh my god.
And 2020, and like the worst part is that my very first Grand Prix that I watched live was Abu Dhabi 2021, so it's like...
Oh my god.
Like, what do you do with that? And because my dad has always been a huge Lewis Hamilton fan, like, he's been watching Formula One since, like, back in the day when he was, like, living in Dubai, right? And I've never had an interest in Formula One until I saw, like, edits of who's gonna win. Like, is it gonna be Max? Is it gonna be Lewis? Like, and I was like, okay. And then, like, I knew Daniel Ricciardo was racing, and then I was like, oh my god, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, like, I'm gonna be a McLaren fan because I'm gonna be different to my dad. I'm not gonna follow in the footsteps of my dad. So can you imagine how... Yeah, can you imagine how that went down with my dad watching Lewis Hamilton lose a championship on the last lap? I don't think we actually finished watching the last lap. I actually, to this day, don't think I've ever watched the end of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2021, because I think my dad got so mad, he turned off the TV, and we went to bed, because it was like 1 a.m, and we were like, okay, we're not doing this. We're not doing this right now. I never got to see Max Verstappen get crowned 2021 champion.
I thank God was not there. I don't know what I would have done. Because I am also a Lewis Hamilton fan. Like, I genuinely support what he's done, and I think he's a very admirable driver and person, but that was a hard one, a hard pill to swallow. And usually, as a journalist, we have to stay neutral, but let's just say it was difficult. Let's face it. Like, it was
difficult to think about. Yeah, it's like, whenever I start reporting on, like, people I care about, and I'm like, how do I write this without being biased and, like, saying, I just cried for 10 minutes before writing this. I'm actually crying while writing this. So, but, like, also, congratulations. Like, you did really good, and I'm totally happy for you. I just think it's so
like
funny.
Smiling through the pain. It's like one of those, like...
Like those memes where it's like you have to smile through the pain, otherwise like you're just gonna start like bawling your eyes out and be crying and like sobbing profusely.
Essentially what we had to do this weekend, don't you think?
Essentially, for both of us, even for both of us, we both had to smile through the pain and just like get on with it, because it's like crying in a room full of Ferrari fans and crying in the middle of Las Vegas is probably not acceptable. So let's just like fake it till you make it, and then like when you go home, you can have a good cry and a good mental breakdown about it. Like,
I feel like I was already having like a mental breakdown, because let's just put it this way: for those who were not able to stay awake during the Las Vegas Grand Prix, because I know some of my friends fell asleep halfway through. How do we sum this up? Well, Max won his 4th world championship, and Lando lost out.
Yeah.
That's the nicest way we can put it.
Yeah, it was really devastating to see, honestly. I was just like, oh, like, I felt really bad for Lando Norris, and I think I will always feel really bad for Lando Norris. That's obviously just because I'm a huge McLaren fan as well, right? But I don't know. I just had this feeling that he was not going to win this championship. I've said from the very beginning of him and Max kind of battling each other that this championship was always Verstappen's to lose. Oh gosh, I've got no internet. How has this happened? Oh gosh. Please work.
she got kicked out.
Oh my gosh, what is happening? Okay, spectacular. I love when my Wi-Fi does that. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. It's
My
happened
Wi-Fi
to
just
us like a
dropped out
bunch
now.
of times.
It always happens, and I'm like, oh, like why does this always happen when I'm like doing something like important?
Did it happen?
Anyways, I was talking about
me during a presser, anyways. So.
Oh, it always like happens during a presser, and it'll be like in the middle of them speaking, and I can't hear anything they're saying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like why must you do this to me right now? Why do you hate me? Anyways, back onto what I was saying about Lando Norris, so you can cut it cleanly, because I know how annoying it is to cut things and put it cleanly. But yeah, I always said from the very beginning of Max and Lando's championship battle that this championship, both in terms of the constructors and the drivers' standings, was both Red Bull's and Verstappen's to lose. And if they lost both of them, I think that would be a massive failure for the team. And I don't know how they would have. I think them losing out on the constructor standings is more like they can argue that more and kind of like come to terms with that a lot more. Obviously with Sergio Perez, like bless him, not performing as well as they would have expected and as well as their rival drivers have been performing. But in terms of Verstappen, if he had lost that championship, I don't know how they would have kind of coped with that Red Bull, because I just think that Red Bull and Max Verstappen have just been a league of their own for the past 4 years, and it's obviously been shown with him winning the championship every single year besides one, like a few races before the season even ends. So whilst I'm very depressed that Lando Norris did not win this championship, I'm still extremely excited that Max Verstappen got to win his fourth. And I think as well, like, as F1 fans, we kind of take this for granted, but we've literally just witnessed a dynasty be created. And, like, in, 20 years from now, we're going to look back on, last season, we're going to be like, that was crazy. Like, Verstappen won every single race besides, 4 or 5? Red Bull dominated that entire season and only did not win one race in an entire season. That's something that we won't see for a very long time. I think whilst we all may not be the biggest Max Verstappen fans, we've got to realise that it's extremely exciting to see.
And that's what I said, I may not be a Max Verstappen fan, but I highly respect, especially as a journalist, highly respect what he's done and how he's won this year's championship. So I can't really be mad about it at all. I don't think anyone deserves to be mad about it, because at some point it was very unrealistic to me for Lando to win, because I'm not really going to give you a hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think with Lando, he is a great driver, but he kind of lacked the consistency sometimes. Well, most of the times. And because of that lack of consistency, because he tended to get very emotional, that's when he would make mistakes that cost him points in the championship. And I think that's what we have to remember. This is the first time in a long time that someone could actually compete against Max. And it was Lando. Lo and behold, after Miami, for some reason, McLaren had a rocket ship. That was absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I think a big point as well, Jenson Button mentioned this when he was doing his, post-race kind of interviews and everything like that, is Lando Norris went from winning his first ever Grand Prix in 2024 to being in championship contention straight away. Drivers like Max Verstappen, he got to win his first Grand Prix, have a year and a bit, or even, a little bit of a buffer, and then go on to be in championship contention and championship battle and have these championship battles. And obviously with that you get experience and you have more race wins under your belt. You know what it takes to win a Grand Prix. You know what it takes to fight against Grand Prix winners, multiple Grand Prix winners. And I think we also have to, when we're talking about Lando Norris's 2024 season and McLaren's 2024 season, we have to just remember that this is still a very monumental season for them. Whilst it may not be what they were hoping for, it's still really amazing to see that they have gone from not even having either of their driver had their first wins this season to both drivers having multiple race wins and being in contention for the title. Oscar Piastri only got knocked out when in during Brazil. Like, he only got knocked out of championship contention during Brazil. Lando Norris only got knocked out the following race. That's a pretty big feat for a team who haven't had an era of dominance since Lewis Hamilton was at the team. And may not be what they were expecting, but it was still an amazing season by their standards.
And let's not forget how they started off last season. That was like a test lap. I remember that race so much. Like, I am so traumatized by waking up so early in the morning to watch that. And I'm saying this as a non-McLaren fan. It's war flashbacks.
Yeah, I get every single time someone mentions like Bahrain 2023, I'm so excited that Ferrari had that one too, like spectacular. No, it wasn't even last year. When was it? No, both Bahrains were like traumatic for me because we had like Danny Rick is also like having a bad race in Bahrain 2022, and then 2023 it was just Bahrain is just not my favorite track. Like, love you, Bahrain, but also like I can't deal with it because I just get war flashbacks every single time we go there. And, like, Oscar Piastri, first Grand Prix, DNFs. Lando Norris, not finishing in the points. We're, like, sitting dead last in the constructors' shit. We are getting beaten by Sauber. We're getting beaten by Williams.
There we go.
And I just think to myself, Tiana, what have you gotten yourself into? Is it time for me to jump over to the Ferrari bandwagon? But no, I stood strong. I held my will, and I was like, you know what, there's going to be a time. We're going to be good again, and I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be like, hey, all that time you were suffering, waking up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, just to see them finish like P9 and P10, or hoping they would finish P9 and P10 to get even a single point, it's going to be worth it. And then we go to like Silverstone, and it was just like, whoa, how did we just qualify P2 and P3? Like how has that happened? But yeah.
Yeah, I remember the day Lando qualified, I think, was it P2 or P3 in Barcelona last year, and I was like, oh, things are happening. I was like, oh, yay.
We're making money moves, people. We're making money moves. He did it just for me.
Oh, yeah. I said the same. I was like, I came all of this way. I'm doing a freaking double header with these people. Now I have to, get some results. But here's the thing. I was working Macau, as you know, and I was with a bunch of Asian journalists that also cover F1 and even photojournalists as well. We all had a very eye-opening conversation. Now, I am going to ask you this because I had a conversation with one photographer and he's told me this is the only season that Lando has a chance to win the, world championship. If he doesn't win it this year, he's not going to win it because Oscar Piastri is more championship material than Lando is. And I wanted to know what you think about that statement right there.
Okay, that's a very complex statement. And I am Australian, so it's very difficult for me when I see people pit Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri against each other, because I'm like, I may be the biggest Lando Norris fan, and I may love him. Like, he may be my number one driver. He may be demoted to number 3 next year, depending on how this goes, but he'll always, have a special place in my heart. But Oscar Piastri will always also have a special place in my heart, because he's an Aussie driver, and, I love him so very much. And I think it's very interesting to me to see the switch up with people in terms of Lando Norris, because I feel like going into maybe last year, people always had this idea, and even when Lando Norris was starting to get into F1, everyone had this idea that Lando Norris would be one of the next World Drivers' Champions, thinking that he was such a great driver and everything like that. And I think I get where you're coming from in the sense of not Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri does have the championship, he has a championship spirit, and he is one of the most ruthless drivers you'll see on track. And I think he may not look like it when you see him walking around or talking to the media and stuff like that, but he's a very ruthless driver. And it's not very often that you see a driver winning F3 and F2 titles back to back in their rookie season, and then coming into F1 and absolutely killing it, getting your first win in your second season in F1, which is a crazy feat to even have or even think about. But I don't know. I think that next year McLaren will definitely be more competitive than they were this year. I think it's already really shown that they will have a better start to the season, and I think their start of the season was ultimately kind of what kind of led to maybe Max Verstappen running away with the championship in that sense, because they have managed to catch up in the Constructors' Championship, but in the Drivers' Championship, not so much. But I also think that a huge reason as to why both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri struggled this year was because of McLaren, and because of the McLaren team in general. They just did not have a well-oiled machine. My friend Katie likes to say, you've got to have all the right ingredients to win a championship. And McLaren had the drivers, they had the car, but their strategists sometimes, and the strategies that they were coming up with, and the way that they were talking to their drivers in the radios, was just not the way, and it was not the right ingredients that they needed to win this championship. And I think they'll do a lot of reflecting of that next season. But I do ultimately think maybe whoever wins more races in the season gets higher priority. But I don't know. I think next year's championship, this is my hot take, next year's championship will be between Lando, Max, and Charles, and Oscar. That's my prediction.
If Oscar wins, I'm throwing a party.
If Oscar wins, like, can you imagine the scenes? Can you imagine the scenes in Australia?
I'll fly to Australia straight away.
I'm flying over to Melbourne. Like, I'm on the first. If Oscar Piastri wins the championship, I'm on the first flight out to Melbourne. Like, I'm going to go to that karting track that he was at, like, he was growing up at, the one that's like the home of Oscar Piastri. I'll be there. Like, we're gonna throw a party in Albert Park, like in the middle of the park, next to the lake. We're gonna be throwing an Oscar Piastri party. Like, surely we get like a public holiday as well. Because when was the last time we saw an Australian drivers champion? It was a while ago.
Very long time ago.
Yeah, because like, I'm just trying. I wasn't even alive yet. Like, I'm just trying to think about it. I just like it would be crazy. The scenes would be absolutely wild. But at the end of the day, I love both Lando and Oscar, and I would love to see either one of them win a championship. I just want to see someone different win a championship, honestly, in Formula One. Because since I've become an F1 fan, I've only ever seen one person be a champion, and that's Max Verstappen. And I love you, Max Verstappen. Like, I really do. But I would really love to see someone else be a champion next year. But here's my other hot take. My other hot take is that Sauber are going to have an absolutely brilliant car and are going to put Gabriel Bortoleto all the way up to win this championship, right? And it's the fattest hot take you'll ever get. But if Gabriel Bortoleto wins this championship at F2, he's going to be the first driver since Oscar Piastri to win back-to-back championships in his rookie season. So what's not to say that he goes back-to-back-to-back in his rookie season and win the championship in Formula One? If that happens, I will retire.
I'm buying you a drink. If that happens, I am buying you a drink. I'd like to send you money like, Tiana, here. Take the credit.
Take the credit card. I think that's my boldest prediction for the 2025 season. Gabriel Bortoleto wins the championship, guys. That's that. You heard it here first. That's my bold prediction for 2025.
I mean, the McLaren just was not doing good in Vegas, wasn't it? Like, as soon as they went out on their first free practice, I mean, the practices were okay, but you kind of, it was very foreshadowing. I know you post something on your Instagram, like, saying this is, like, very foreshadowing of what comes next. I think you kind of already accepted the fact that Lando wasn't going to get this one.
Yeah, I think I knew, like, I had some kind of, like, blind delusional hope that they were gonna do well, but I also, once I watched FP1 and FP2 love you, but, like, you don't really provide me with much information on what's gonna happen during qualifying. Like, FP3 is the real...
FP1 can't even be used, exactly, because FP1 had Sonny Hayes going around the track with everyone.
Like, what is he got hit by the safety car as well. Like, I want to know what the plotline of this F1 movie is, because there are so many random moments happening that I just see getting filmed at an F1 like Grand Prix, and I'm like, what is happening? Like where is this storyline going? Like, I can't comprehend it, and I'm just really excited to watch this movie because what's gonna happen.
I'm not.
But anyways.
My concern is my face is plastered on there somewhere.
Oh my god, I can't wait. I'm gonna be, like, watching the movie and I'm gonna see Chiara and I'm gonna be like, oh my god, I know that girl! I know her! Oh my god, like, fangirling. Oh, dear Lord. That's gonna be so amazing. But yeah, I think, like, FP1 and FP2, you can't really take a lot of data from that in terms of, like, qualifying, because they don't obviously have their quali, like, they're not running their quali setups and they're not running their quali stuff. They're just out there for trying to get like data and information on the track, and especially with a track like Vegas, it changes a lot because people drive in a strip after the sessions end, they have to open the strip up again. It's like Monaco, where you have, like, the the racetrack gets used for the rest of the day when they're not using, when the F1 cars aren't driving on it. It's not like your traditional it's not like a street track like Albert Park or Singapore where people don't drive on that for the entire race weekend. Like those streets are just closed. So I think during FP3, when I saw that the Verstappen's rear wing had like fixed itself miraculously and that the Mercedes were quick as well as the Ferraris, I was like, yeah, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. And I think I'd resigned to the fact that I was just being delusional at this point. And then it didn't happen. And like, I think McLaren were even I was just really happy that Lando Norris finished the Grand Prix. Because, like, last year he did not have a good Las Vegas Grand Prix. He got, like, taken away in a helicopter somewhere. And he was not having a good time. But, yeah, I don't know. But Ferrari had a weekend. Ferrari had a weekend.
You're throwing this on to me. I was not ready. Because this is one of those weekends where I was like, okay, Ferrari is going to have it. So let me kind of, be with my team, be one with Ferrari. Turns out no one's won at Ferrari. No.
They're not one entity at Ferrari. they're very much
not at all, no. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I was very happy with Carlos Sainz's performance because it's not a secret that I'm a Carlos Sainz girl. Like, let's be real. Like,
love my King Carlos Sainz.
Yes. That, but we also have to talk about the big elephant in the room. I'm still also quite baffled about how that situation at the pit lane did not turn into pit lane entry did not turn into a penalty. But I was, asking my team about this, and I was, asking a bunch of other journalists around, and it turns out, and this hasn't been confirmed yet at all, by the way, but, this is just what went around in the media center, what went around the journalists. It was treated as a track limit infringement, which is why there was no penalty, because, with track limits, it's like you have to stay within the track
for a certain
amount of times, exactly, until you get, your warnings and your penalties.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah,
exactly.
We were in sync there, because I literally was like, as soon as I saw him go into the pit lane and Lewis Hamilton was behind him, and then I saw him dart out, I was like, what did he just do? Like, were we in the pit lane already? And then I looked, and he had crossed the solid line. And I remember very vividly in Austria when people were obviously, because you're when you come around that final turn or the second last turn, you're kind of inevitably going to cross the pit lane line, right? And I remember in Austria, a lot of drivers were getting in trouble for that, and they were crossing that white line, and they had to obviously correct themselves, right? But I was very surprised that he didn't get the penalty, and even the people who were commentating, Crofty and stuff, they were like, oh, Ferrari must have been very convincing to the FIA to say that they weren't ready for the pit stop, and that's why he went out. But even if they weren't ready for the pit stop, I just assumed that he'd have to wait in the pits or just drive through. Did
I not send you that tweet?
No, you sent me that you thought that you told me that it was a pit they treated it like track limits, but I didn't see a tweet.
There was another tweet that was circulating because Ferrari was ready. They were there standing ready. So apparently, allegedly, let's not spit out facts here, but it is going on Twitter as well. I call it Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, but the team was there ready for the pit.
And he wasn't. He didn't come in. That makes me very confused.
Something was ready. No, it makes me feel icky. I don't know about you, but it makes me feel icky because I wasn't in the vicinity. I wasn't, when I was watching the race, I wasn't standing, where Ferrari was or anything. I was basically, I moved over to the side. I was pit lane exit. That's where I was watching from. And I just kept on walking around at some point following with my phone because I was too stressed about the whole Lando situation. So I was I kept on coming in and out. But that's the tweet that was circulating, was that Ferrari was ready and they were there ready to pit. So, there was this tweet. Exactly. Wait, I'm going to read it out loud.
Okay.
Can we talk about Ricky Adami lying to Carlos on the radio? Because, lol, they were waiting for Sainz in the pit lane. Who are they trying to gaslight here? I'm gonna show you the photo.
Oh, yeah, they definitely are waiting for Carlos. Okay, I see that. Okay, yeah. Okay, look. Now I can understand why. I think we're treading very thin water here when we talk about Carlos Sainz and this Grand Prix weekend, because there's obviously a lot of controversy around him and Charles Leclerc and him obviously not following team orders. But I think I understand where Carlos Sainz is coming from, and I understand both sides. I understand where Charles Leclerc is coming from as well. But I think as someone like Carlos Sainz, who was very how you say, like, kind of, this entire season and his entire time in Ferrari has not been smooth at all. It has not been smooth at all. And I think the one I always think too is every single time he's won a race, he's always managed to come up with his own race strategy. He's always been there to, like, help himself win this Grand Prix or help himself win. Like, Ferrari have helped him definitely, but Silverstone winning his first Grand Prix, he was, like, there telling Ferrari what they needed to do. Singapore, he was telling Ferrari what they needed to do. He was helping Lando Norris get the DRS so that Lando Norris would be able to fend off of George Russell. And because he knew that George Russell was a bigger threat to him than Lando Norris was. And I think he's kind of gotten to the point where he knows there's only 3 races left in his Ferrari career. He simply does not care. He could not care less about Ferrari. He could not care less about that team. I think he really loves the team, but I don't think he could care very much about their championship standings, because at the end of the day, that doesn't help him for next season. Like, his teammates' driver standings does not help him for next year. His Ferrari's driver standings, championship standings, doesn't help him for next year. So, and if the team has showed him nothing but, the team and some of the fans have showed him nothing but ill respect over the past couple of years, I too would be like Carlos Sainz and not be following team orders. Do I think it was necessarily correct for Carlos Sainz to not follow team orders? No. But, like, once again, Formula 1 drivers are Formula 1 drivers.
I don't agree with that either. Exactly. You're essentially, like, yes, you're a team, but it's also every man for themselves. And I think that's what people forget.
I think as much as Formula 1 is a team sport, and you really love your team and you really want to be there for your team and show up for your team, and there are 2 drivers in a team, it is such an individual sport, and it's so unique in that way. I think Formula 1 is so weird in that sense, where it's a team sport, but it's also not really a team sport, because, like, it just simply isn't a team sport at times. It's just like, that's my teammate, but they're also my rival. Like, if I have to fight them, I will fight them, and if I have to overtake them, I will overtake them. At the end of the day, they're just another number that I have to get past. Like, I don't know. It's really something that is going to be really interesting, but I'm also very interested to see how Ferrari fans who are currently very upset with Carlos Sainz and the way that Carlos Sainz has been acting, how these fans will react next season when Lewis Hamilton is at the team, and it's inevitably a lot worse.
Yes,
and inevitably
someone said it.
It's going to be a whole lot worse. And I think I think that people aren't ready for Lewis Hamilton to be at Ferrari, purely because as much as Charles Leclerc is the golden boy of Ferrari right now, can you sit there and tell me that next year when Lewis Hamilton comes to the team, he's going to be the golden boy? Like, I love Charles. I really do. And he's earned his place in Ferrari. But so has Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is a 7-time World Drivers' Champion. Like, he is up there. He is with names like Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher. These are the greats of the greats. These are the greats of the sport. And you have I'm not dissing Charles Leclerc by any means, but I'm just thinking it's going to be so interesting. If you can't even handle Carlos Sainz right now, how are you going to handle Lewis Hamilton next year? And I think that's something that's going to be so interesting to see over the 2025 season, and I'm so, so, so excited for it.
I'm worried. I'm very worried because, I love Ferrari. I also love Lewis Hamilton, but my heart is, with Carlos Sainz. And I do not agree with every single thing he does. And I guess that's me also being a journalist. Ever since I started, working as a journalist, and, how do I say this? I started to see through certain cracks as well. And our job is essentially to be neutral when it comes to looking at a situation. And I like to joke around. Like, I know I was joking around in our pit debrief group yesterday saying, oh, whatever it is, I'll be Carlos's new teammate, you know? Like, it's just those little things. But I also knew, like, okay, certain things were not right. That is okay. But we have a lot of questions. Like, I have a lot of questions to Ferrari for that incident. Like, what's been going on internally that your boys are going nuts? And I think this was also like with Charles. I mean, everyone heard that radio. I don't have to reread that. Everyone can just rewatch it. Something was definitely boiling down on Charles. I mean, let's be real, that comeback thing, maybe try in Spanish.
He's been marinating on that for a while, and I think this is a long time coming. Like, it's had to be, I think it's going to be a build-up over the course of the past 2 years. I'd say past 3 years. Since Charles Leclerc was in that championship battle with Max Verstappen in 2022, I think since then, and the mistakes of the Ferrari team, I think I could pinpoint the exact moment where it's all started, and that is Monaco 2022. That is the moment in my head where this is all just conspired from, and that the both drivers have been so incredibly mad about since then, because they had a chance to win that Grand Prix. And yes, Charles Leclerc has managed to win his Monaco Grand Prix, and it's all well and good now. But they had a chance to win that Grand Prix, and they had a chance to win that championship. And they didn't. And I think that's where it's all stemmed from. I think, if I can put it in my mind, it's Monaco 2022. And since then, it's just been a steady decrease. It's been a steady decline. And yes, they have their moments where it's all well and good, and it's like, oh my god, like, let's hold hands in a circle and sing Kumbaya, like, we're all besties for the restie, love you loads, like, all of that stuff, right? But then there's moments again like that, like, even Canada this year, where they put them on wet tires and it was dry. Like, what are we doing? Like, I just have so, like you said,
or where they had no wheels during. I hate Ferrari pit stops so much. Like, I dread the days where, you know, it's like a pit stop and they try to double pit stop, and I'm like, where is the original Ferrari I know? Like, why are you lacking? Like, what is happening? You cannot be one of the oldest teams on the grid and be making mistakes. Exactly. Like, are you okay? Like, do you need therapy? Do I need to, like, bring my sister in, like, my psychology studying sister? Like, here, take her, give her work, you know, like, let's talk.
And I think, even, like, a team like Williams may be, obviously, like, a lower team. I don't think I've seen Williams make the kind of mistakes that Ferrari makes. I honestly don't think I have seen any team make kind of, like, the pit stop errors. And I talk about pit stop errors. I think, like, you have strategy mistakes, definitely. But I think pit stop mistakes, I just think Ferrari are in a league of their own when it comes to pit stops. Whenever I see...
They need Luigi!
They do. They do. And the guy with the tattoo of, like, Luigi right here, like, they need to, like, reincarnate Luigi and, like, have him there. Because, like, that's all they really need to win. With, like, Ferrari with Luigi would be so unstoppable, and I fear the Formula One isn't ready for that yet.
I think Carlos and Charles need to go to a pub, make sure that it's just both of them in there, and, you know, the barkeeper, and just have drinks and, like, talk it out like men should talk things out. Like, this and yap.
Yeah, this and yap, except it's Carlos and Charles.
Because people are now, like, I've been reading the comments, and it's disgusting to me that they're like, oh, let's watch Carlos, like, try to fight you from a Williams, and, you know... Throughout the season, even though he's not very good at following team orders, yes, I agree, he's not the best team player that there is. Okay, let's put that to rest. Like, I know, I'm aware, neither am I. I have my moments. But that's fine, we're journalists, we act selfishly sometimes. But, you know, saying things like that, then, like, I get that you're a Charles fan, but... Let's not. Like, we're all older than this. Like, we're
all better than this as well.
Those things. Exactly. Like, let's not hate on someone because of that. Because we don't exactly know. Neither us as journalists. Like, you'd have to be from the inside to understand, like, what's going on. Because Ferrari, their media and the way they do things, like, you can tell that they're very, very, very structured. It's not very open like McLaren, like, where, you know, I mean, obviously Liberty Media stopped them from doing their little vlogs, which kind of is sad because I enjoyed those vlogs. But to get into Ferrari, you have to be in Ferrari. And we don't know what the hell is going on. We don't know what Fred is saying. We don't know what anyone else is saying.
And I honestly think the only maybe, like, people who would know what's happening, like, internally with Ferrari and with both of these drivers behind the scenes would be the drivers and the drivers' family. I actually don't think a single person outside of those people would know their actual full thoughts and their full processes of why they snapped so quickly. I don't think I've ever seen Charles Leclerc snap. And I like snapped like that as well. Like, seeing his radio post-race, and he was like, I know I need to stop talking, but this is ridiculous and it's getting insane. And I'm just like, I've never known Charles Leclerc to be someone like that, or like to snap like that. And he's always been a really nice guy, like he said. But I just think, once again, it also comes down to the fact, like we said earlier, every single driver is mic'd up. You can hear what these drivers are saying at all times. In any other sport, you can't. The adrenaline is so high for them that they, 98% of the time, don't really mean what they're saying. Like, I can tell you, like, when your adrenaline is high and you're, like, if you were in that situation and you would be so mad, the things that are coming out of your mouth, you probably don't mean in hindsight. And you look back in, like, 10 minutes.
I'm in Germany, so literally me on the highway when I take the Audi out, like, oh my god.
Like, hurry up, like, you know what I mean? Like, in 10 minutes, you'll look back on it and you'll be like, I did not mean that. I've calmed down, I've composed, and I don't mean that. And I didn't want to say that, and it would have been a lot better for me if I didn't go about that and say that. But at the end of the day, it's also, like you said, it's got to be a mixture of a lot of things, like, happening for Ferrari, because I don't really see it for both Charles and Carlos, like them just snapping one day just cause they felt like it. It's got to be a combination of things leading up to this, because both of them seemingly have not been very thrilled with their team for quite some time now. And it's been very evident that pretty much, besides maybe like Austin and Mexico, Charles and Carlos have very much not been huge Ferrari fans. Like, for the Ferrari, they've not been Ferrari's biggest fans this year. And it's really interesting to see what happened there. And I don't know, I hope that Ferrari can work it out, and I hope that Charles and Carlos can work it out. But once again, there's only 2 races of the season left for Carlos. He's not got much to lose. Like, he's just in a Ferrari for the last 2 races, so might as well just do what he can.
Yeah, I'll say this. When Charles and Lewis Hamilton are driving alongside each other, I think Charles is going to think back and say, I miss Carlos.
Yeah, I would 100%.
Because even though their relationship could potentially like be a PR relationship, they're still a really good driver pairing. Like, you know, my driver pairings are Lando and Oscar, and then Charles and Carlos, because they're so, in a way, similar in driving styles. My opinion is this, though, and I'm just saying, like, this is my opinion. I think because Charles is the golden boy, Carlos never really got to shine. The only times I saw him shine were actually when he was in Renault and when he was in McLaren. I think if Carlos stayed in McLaren, I think he could have been up there with Lando this year as well.
I agree 100%. I think that the course of Carlos Sainz's career would be so much different than the way it is now. And I'm not saying, I think, like, once again, hindsight is great. Like, we can look back and be like, hey, that was potentially not the best move you can make. But when you're sitting in a room and you're offered a contract with Ferrari, like, you'd be dumb not to take the contract, you know. You'd be dumb not to take it, right? Like, and I think all of the greats have driven for Ferrari at some point in their career. That's what they all say, right? Like, every single person finishes off their career with Ferrari. Every single person who's a great driver has raced for Ferrari at some point. And, like, I think he got necessarily sucked into that and was like, hey, like, I'd love to do that. But I think, like you said, Carlos Sainz just never got the full potential never got the time to show his full potential at Ferrari. God, I can't even speak. But it makes me really sad, because he's genuinely a really talented driver. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a huge fan of his, but I do think that he's a very talented driver, and you could have seen that in his early days as well, in racing. And if people want to say that he's not a good race car driver, like, he makes his own strategy on the road, like we mentioned before. Like, there's not many drivers who I can tell you can, like, think about things like something that still, like, lives in my mind is the fact that this man in the middle of the Singapore Grand Prix was like, okay, I'm going to give Lando Norris DRS, because if he's got DRS, he'll be fine, because he'll have the DRS from me, and then that will stop George Russell from overtaking him, and therefore it will stop him from overtaking me. And he knew that Lando Norris would understand what he's doing. And I just think that is such, like, I don't know, like, it's
that
so
driver
cool
pairing was unmatched. To think that I was able to live through that was absolutely insane to me. Like, the fact
I'm so sad I never got to witness that. Like, that's like my number. I'm gonna have to rewatch I'm gonna rewatch 2019 and 2020 and just gonna like relive all the Lando moments and just be like, damn, like I really missed out.
I think McLaren and Carlos would have had a really good partnership, and like that's actually the year. Like, sorry Lando, like forget you getting your contract and, you know, being an F1 rookie. Like, I was there for Carlos. Like, I've been here since day one for this man. Like,
big love, Carlos.
Let's be real. Like, this was my love. This is my man. And to see that all kind of like crumble down now. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad teammate like in Williams. I think there is a reason why he chose Williams. And we're going to get to Williams in a second as well, because they were a very eventful team this week as well.
But I'm also...
Well, yeah.
I'm also really excited to... Yeah. I'm really excited to see how Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz go next year. Because I think Carlos Sainz has always been kind of the second driver, but I don't think him going to Williams was kind of like a second driver move, and I don't think Alex Albon wants to be a second driver after everything that happened with him and Max Verstappen. So that's also going to be interesting. I think these driver pairings for next year, oh my god, I'm so ready. I'm so ready for next year, because I just can't wait to see, like, Drive to Survive is going to have a field day. I already know it. I already know Drive to Survive is going to be, like, living their best life in 2025 and be like, hey, 5 rookies on the grid, teammates who absolutely despise each other, that's what we need. That's what we need. But Williams, you're scared. Yeah, no, you would be scared as a Ferrari fan. I'm not, because we're kind of tied down for, like, years. So, shout out Oscar and Lando. Unless one of them decide to, like, leave one day, and that'll probably, like, ruin a lot of my mental state. I actually don't know who they'd replace either one of them with. Like...
Carlos. I feel like
Carlos?
if Oscar leaves, Carlos.
I think what hurts as well is, like, seeing how much McLaren even still care about, like, Carlos Sainz, compared to the way that, like, sometimes you see, like, the way that Ferrari speaks about Carlos Sainz, or, like, Ferrari fans speak about Carlos Sainz. It's just, like, did you not see that one video where like, Lando Norris learnt Italian to speak to you guys and say, like, take care of Carlos? And, like, did you take care of Carlos? Because that's what I want to know. That's the real question here. Did you take care of Carlos? Did you keep your promise to McLaren? And if you didn't, we're going to have words.
It's the same way we kind of asked, is Williams taking care of Logan Sargent? Because, like, Williams, they're usually such a quiet team, but I don't know what the hell happened. Like, I mean, okay, they have Franco Colapinto, who hasn't really been having his best life right now. I mean, he did good the first few races that he was on, but now we have, like, 3 where he has crashed and it's costing the team. Like, let's be real. Let's not, like, lie about it or sugarcoat anything. It is costing the team, and we have this cost cap to make a level playing field. But we also cannot forget, the guy stepped up from F2, and it's essentially, like, his rookie season. And you cannot expect every single rookie to be like Zhou Guanyu and have it perfect. And not even he had it that perfect, okay? Like, but well, like, Zhou Guanyu has been quite clean during his rookie season.
Yeah, he was. I was actually, like, I think Zhou Guanyu actually had such an amazing rookie season, and not a lot of people talk about it. And I'm sick of the Zhou Guanyu slander. I'm actually, like, I'll say here, I'm sick of the Zhou Guanyu slander, because he is genuinely such a talented driver. I don't care what anyone says. I love him, and I believe that he's a very talented driver, and I'm so excited for him to potentially go to Ferrari next year, be their reserve driver, obviously with Robert Schwartzman departing from the team. I just think he is such a talented driver, and you can see that in his Formula 2, Formula 3, all of these highlights in his junior career, and just necessarily because you have a bad run in F1 does not mean that you are a horrible driver. I think F1 is not the end-all of be-alls, and I think a lot of people get sucked into that trap, and you also have to realize the reality of starting in the back of the field, in the back of the pack, is that you are going to be subject to these crashes, because everyone's just all there. It's all like, you can see it happening in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just like you have to let it happen because you can't control it. You're not in control of the situation. And I don't think Zhou Guanyu has necessarily like crashed into the wall like hundreds of thousands of times and like caused them a lot of damage. But onto someone like Franco Colapinto, like Franco Colapinto is in his rookie season in F2. Like I was so shocked and so surprised.
I forgot about that. Wait, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and like he didn't even have a full season in F2, and he stepped up to Formula 1, and like, yes, he's had some horrific crashes. He's like, once again, Williams, I say a prayer for them and light a candle for them every single night, because I'm just like, I feel so bad for the Williams mechanics. I feel so bad for everyone at Williams. But like, and I just think that, like, I love Franco Colapinto, but James Vowles, you did this to yourself, man. You did this to yourself. You replaced an inexperienced driver who you didn't like because he was inexperienced and kept crashing into the wall, and like, fair enough, with another inexperienced driver who hadn't even finished the whole season in F2 yet. I'm so happy that Franco is in F1.
Who you wanted in that seat? Let's
I had
take
no
Franco
idea.
out of the picture. Who would you have put?
I would have put
Mick,
because Mick is the only person in my mind that I can think of. Like, I can't think of anyone else. If I had it my way, it would be Jamie Chadwick, but she doesn't have a super license and doesn't have the experience. But if you're going for experience, Mick Schumacher was your guy. Like, he was the one who has the F1 experience. Yes, his time at Haas was difficult, and he did have the crashes. But if you were looking for someone who had experience in F1 and was less likely to crash, it would have probably been Mick, because he has experience in racing F1 cars. Franco Colapinto got his first FP1 session in Silverstone. That was his first FP1 session ever. He'd never had an FP1 session before. Like, the Abu Dhabi one was Zach O'Sullivan. I'm so happy that he got the seat, but it's just like, James Vowles, you did this to yourself, man. Like, you did this to yourself, and I can't, like, you can't be
Actually,
mad.
Zach O'Sullivan would have been an interesting choice as well, because I think Zach would have fared quite well. That's because Zach has been in the game longer than Franco has.
I think as well. I think that as well, and I think I'm very intrigued as to know why they didn't put Zach in over Franco. Funding, yeah. But, yeah, you know what? Points have been made. I can't argue against them. But he's still... But the big thing is, like, Zach is still a part of the Williams Junior Academy, and it, like I wonder then how much money Williams is actually giving, if the crash damages are actually affecting them to the point where they have to pull money from their funding in their junior categories because they physically are just, like, running low on cash. Obviously, don't know if that's how that works, but I don't know. I feel really bad for Williams, and every single day I think about it, I'm just like, oh, Williams, like, poor people.
But in light of Williams, also with their Mercedes-powered engine and stuff, let's talk about Mercedes for 1 second, because they ate. The last team I expected to eat. They ate. Like, I have no words, because they just had... Okay, we had a little hiccup from Lewis Hamilton during qualifying, but... yeah, other than that, they topped the whole weekend. I don't think there's anything to discuss about that.
Like leading every single session. They did the clean sweep. Mercedes did the clean sweep. FP1, FP2, FP3, quali, the race. Every single session was dominated by Mercedes, and that is crazy, because normally every single person and their mothers were talking about the fact that Mercedes were going to fade throughout the week, and they were going to be like, oh, Mercedes aren't going to get pole, Mercedes aren't going to win the race, like, they always do this, they always start off really strong, and then they just fade away during a Grand Prix weekend, and Mercedes have been guilty of doing that. But I don't know.
Dream.
It really was
a fever dream of a weekend.
It really was. And I feel like for George Russell as well, it would be such a fever dream. Because it's just like, how do you go from being disqualified in Spa when you thought you'd won to not winning, and then to winning in Vegas? Like, one of the most, like, crazy tracks you could have won at. I don't know. But I want to know what Mercedes... I think a huge part as well of this would have had to be the cold weather, and I think Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both kind of spoke about it as well. Mm-hmm. When they go to Qatar this week, they're not going to be up there. Like, I love you, Mercedes.
I'm not going to hear my anthem.
You're not going to hear. You're not going to hear the anthem's not going to be
that podium. I was like standing there and I was like listening to the German anthem, and I have to admit I'm a very poor German because I do not know the German national anthem because I didn't grow up here. I know the words of it. I just don't know the exact order to sing them in. I do know the Filipino one because I had to sing that every week in school because we had to pledge allegiance to the flag like in the US and sing the national anthem. But I was standing there and I'm like, oh yay, I'm listening to the German anthem. This is great. This is 2 weeks in a row that I hear it, because the person who won the GP in Macau, like not Formula Regional, because that was Ugo, that was the American national anthem, but was a German person. So I was like, anthem, yay, more motorsport, because my dream is to have another German GP, whether it's the Hockenheimring or the Nürburgring. So I'm always happy when we have representation, because that would be iconic.
I would die for a German Grand Prix. Like, I don't think anyone understands. Like, Nürburgring is like my dream Grand Prix. Like, my dream is for that to be on the calendar in F1.
Girl, I'll take you. I'll take you to DTM if you want.
I'll be there. Tiana takes on DTM.
I'll take you. Exactly. You should have told me this. I could have gotten you in any single time.
That's all right. There's years. There's years coming. Next year.
You can stay with me.
Oh my god, stop. We've worked it out. I'm going to go and tell my mum right now.
So you're booking me a ticket to Germany. Are coming over to, at some point to Germany, and we're doing like a Hockenheim tour because they want to see the old track, which is now forest, by the way, so we're hiking.
Oh my gosh.
Track. I don't like hiking.
Oh my gosh, stop. That would be so fun. I don't like hiking either, but that would be so fun to like see the sights and the scenes. But yeah, I think when we go to Qatar this weekend, it's going to be very, very, very
different,
opposite, the polar opposite for Mercedes. I think McLaren will do well. But also I'm kind of living in delusion that McLaren will do well because I'm just kind of like hoping that they will. But I think the cold temperatures, we've always seen the Mercedes kind of struggle with overheating and as well as like wearing down their tires and stuff like that and tie deg. So I think that's why the cold weather suited them so much, because they were able to work in those tire windows and they knew that their car was going to work perfectly fine, and they knew they didn't really have to worry about the hot temperatures because it was like 4 degrees. Like it was cold. It was too cold for them.
I learned that the hard way last year. I was packed wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like some of the outfits of people were still very questionable this year, but if you're outside, you're freezing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Mercedes,
I would imagine.
Pulled it off. Very happy. I think Lewis would have wanted to win. I don't know if you saw his face.
I think he was a bit sad. He was a bit sad he didn't win. I actually think that Lewis Hamilton is going to win in Abu Dhabi, and I think that's going to be the perfect farewell. I want the Abu Dhabi podium to like potentially
because now I'll have it in my head.
Like now, I just like want the Abu Dhabi podium to be like Lewis, Carlos. And, like, Valtteri Bottas just for, like, lols. Just, like, get Valtteri up there. Just because I want to see him on the podium. And I just, like, one last time.
Bottas is going to come back to Mercedes as a reserve driver?
I really hope he does. And I think Mick Schumacher's stories kind of alluded that he was going to take a step back from Mercedes.
Yo, we were talking about rants. I was so confused when I saw that, like, on my Instagram. I'm like, oh, what's he on about? And then it just, like, clicked, and I'm like, oh.
I was like, oh. Yeah, I think that's kind of what he's alluding to. I think Valtteri Bottas is going back to Mercedes. And I think that's going to be really exciting. I really just want to see, like, Kimi. I really hope nothing bad ever happens to Kimi Antonelli. But if he gets appendicitis and we have to have another driver fill in for him, I'm just really excited to see Valtteri Bottas and George Russell be teammates for one race. Because can you imagine that? That would be so funny.
But You know what? I think if that happens, we'll see Bottas prime, because I have a friend and he's obsessed with Valtteri Bottas, and he's like, this is so unfair. Like, he wasn't having the fact that Bottas is not going to be there on the grid next year. And I'm like, let's make room for rookies. And that's also because we cover F2 and we cover F3. Like, if it was between you and me, we could probably make a whole grid out of the whole F2 and F3.
I definitely
drivers, could. Past and present. And to me,
and on the top of my list is Clem. On the top of my list is Clem. He has to get the F1 seat, the first person ever to get the F1 seat.
Well, honey, he's now an insurance broker, I guess.
He's now an insurance broker, but, like, I'm telling you, my friend likes to say, like, the F2 to, like, WEC to, like, insurance broker pipeline is so real, and I feel that Clem
let's get Delatraz back in as well. He was actually really good.
Let's just get all the people who are retired race. Oh, Max Futrell as well. Like, get him an F1 seat. Like, get every single person who's a retired race car driver because they didn't make it to F1 or, like, didn't make it up in the big leagues. Like, get them all, like, F1 seats. And I think that would be such like, we should have the F1, like, F1.5. We should have F1.5.
We should collab on this thing. We should do, like,
we should. This is a post in the making, like an F1.5, like this our dream F1 grid.
Retired single-seater drivers. Oh, yeah.
That would be so iconic, I fear we would eat this up. Guys, stay tuned.
Oh, you know what was iconic? Isaac Hadjar doing the hot laps in Las Vegas. I didn't even realize it was him.
Did he do the hot laps in Vegas? Oh my gosh, Isaac Hadjar and I, like, I walked past him during the OzGP last year, and this moment lives rent-free in my mind because it's just so dumb of me. And anyways, we were, like, walking on this dirt road, because to the F2, F3 paddock in Australia, you have to, like, walk along this dirt road. It's really sketchy, and you, like, have to, like, get there. Anyways, I'm walking along this dirt road with my friend Ash, and we were just, like, walking past, blah, 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 and this guy and I, like, make intense eye contact. Like, I'm telling you, I'm walking, and I'm having eye contact with this guy, and he's having eye contact with me, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, why is he just standing on the dirt road, like, doing push-ups? I was very confused. And then I said out loud, while I was looking at him, I know you, but I don't know your name. And then he just kind of looked away. And then I was like, oh, that's Isaac Hadjar. Oh, yeah.
He didn't even say, I'm Isaac.
No, he never did. It was just, like, mad awkward, because he, like, heard what I'd said, and I was like, oh, God, this is really awkward. Like, I'm never getting over this. This is, like, the one moment where I'm, like, think about what I'm going to
match on the street.
Like, oh, like, what are you doing here?
I swiped you on Tinder.
Like, who are you? I just think that, like, I was just like, why are you on the side of a dirt road? You have an entire F2 paddock right there. Why couldn't you do your warm-ups there? Why'd you have to do it on the side of the road for everyone to see you?
I kind of want Isaac to do an F1 race as well, because actually, I was surprised with V-Carb this week.
Yeah. I was very, especially Yuki Tsunoda out-qualifying, like, Oscar Piastri. Like, hello?
I know.
I saw that, and I was like,
and they had a beautiful livery.
That was very...
V-Carb gets lost sometimes.
Because I think the regular V-Carb livery is just so boring. I think, like, it never... I feel like...
Rosso, though, that's the thing.
It is.
That's way before your time.
That's way before my time.
Toro Rosso was like my V-Carb essentially growing up. Like, there we go.
Yeah.
And for my other friends, I'm so sorry if you guys are listening to this. I don't mean to show your age, but they still know it as Minardi.
Oh my gosh, that is
a long time.
That was a long, long time ago. Like, when I saw that, and I've seen the Toro Rosso car before, and I was just like, yeah, okay, like, we've just copied and pasted here, guys. Like, we're not even original anymore. But I just feel like, I think my thing with F1 cars is that I get sick of the liveries after a while. It's like, I've seen this livery for, like, 24 rounds. Give me something new. And, like, we'll have, like, 10 rounds out of the year, which will have, like, some special liveries here and there. But, like, even the special liveries, majority of times, they're not very different. And I'm like, give me a nice special livery that is completely different to your normal livery. Like Alpine did this weekend, like Stake did. Like, the flames, perfect. Execution, 10 out of 10. Alpine's pink car,
flaming hot.
Like, 15 out of 10.
Cute.
My favorite.
I'll send you, like, the pictures.
Oh my god, stop. I love seeing, like, car liveries, like, up close, because it's just, like, how, like, that's, I've only ever seen it through a phone. I'm just like, that's actually a phone. That's actually, I can see that with my eyes, right? And I think, like, my favorite thing was when the Steak and the Alpine were, like, running alongside each other. So it was, Glinda and Elphaba. And I was like, oh my god, like, Wicked, what are you doing here? And I was, like, watching it with my friends who know nothing about F1.
Yeah. During Macau, my friend put his face on his livery.
Oh my god, stop. That is amazing.
I'm not lying. I'm like pulling this up.
Oh my god, stop. That is amazing. That is amazing. I want that.
It was so cool. Like, I was like thrown back by it
thrown
because
off?
He actually also like he what did he do? He got like mini figurines of himself as well.
Oh my god!
Like, can we have that for all drivers?
Can you sign it for me? Can you sign it for me? It's like I have my, like, Max Verstappen and, like, Lewis Hamilton Funko Pops, like, somewhere in my room, and I'm just like, those are, like, my prize possessions.
I thought you were gonna say cutouts. I was gonna be worried for you because cutouts are genuinely scary in the middle of the night. I have a friend who made like a Lando Norris pillow.
Oh my god, that would be so good.
I sent it to his team as well. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, here, look over my friend.
Here, like, oh my gosh, like,
I know they have it for B-roll just in case.
Yeah, but just in case they ever need it. Lando Norris's team, if you ever want to take my glasses, I'll make you glasses. I've made several. This is my dilemma, right? So if you know me, you know that I've made several glasses for Abu Dhabi. There's like 20 glasses sitting in my cupboard. I don't know how I'm taking them to Abu Dhabi. It's a 14-hour flight from Sydney to Abu Dhabi. I don't know how that's going to work. Like, half of my suitcase is about to be, like, I don't know if you can see it in the background, but that is my suitcase. I don't know how half of my suitcase is just going to be glasses, and I'm like, oh. But then I'm also like, I don't want to bring them there and then have to bring them home. Yeah, it's literally, like, half the size of me. I'm not that tall, but, like, it's still half the size of me. So I'm just like, I've got to make do. I don't know how I'm going to get them into the track is my next problem. Because I just feel like it's going to be mad suspicious when I walk through, like, the gates and be like, hey, so I've actually got, like, 20 pairs of glasses in my thing. And, like, half of them are for people who I'm going to have to, like, find through the track. Because, like, I made glasses for my friend, Charlotte. And her say, like, Chloe Chambers fan club. And I just think they're the cutest thing ever. My glasses collection is really just... It's my pride and joy, really. If you couldn't tell, I really love my glasses collection. I'm gonna make you one.
I see it all the time on Instagram.
Like, when I meet you for the very first time, I'm gonna get ones, and they're just gonna say chaos, and that's just all they're gonna say, just chaos on the side, and that's how you know.
To get me out to Australia for the F1 race as well. Like,
yeah, please, like.
Because my goal is to watch an F1 race, like, as a fan in the grandstands, because that's something I don't always get to experience. Because that's something, like, I really, really, absolutely want to do. Because it's very different. Because I realized it in Macau, because the Macau GP, for me, it's like my home race. And I wasn't even supposed to work it. And... when I got the accreditation confirmation, my parents already had bought, like, grandstands, like Lisboa Curve, where all the crazy accidents happen, where Sophia Flörsch kind of just, like...
Yeah.
I don't know, she yeeted into the air, into the wall. Exactly.
That was crazy.
And for me, like, working it was one of the biggest honors. It was the same as the Formula E in, like, forget Monaco Formula E being the first race that I ever worked. For me, it was like Berlin, because I'm on home soil working essentially what is my home GP.
Yeah.
E-Prix. I don't care. It's a GP in my... It's a GP in my heart. But exactly. And the fact that I was working Macau, like, such a legendary track, even my dad, and this is like a fun fact, my parents don't understand what I'm doing. They don't understand motorsport work. They don't understand. I mean, they have some basic knowledge of journalism. Just sports journalism is so different to what actual journalism is. It's a whole different breed. So this was the first time they got to see me kind of, like, in action. And to them, like, they didn't think it was big. But as soon as their friends were like, "Oh, where's Chiara?" I thought she was, visiting home. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, she's in Macau. She's working that GP." And everyone of their friend group flipped out. And that's when they were like, "Oh,
Oh,
So
like this is
she's not
crazy.
doing something useless. Yeah, because they're not like they don't. I mean, it's not that they're not supportive. It's just that they don't understand it, which makes it difficult for a
I
lot
know
of
what you mean.
parents.
I know what you mean. I know
So
what you mean. Yeah.
they're like, why are you up so late? Like you have to go to bed, but then you're like, I cannot because this article, this is a race report, has to go up at this time.
It has
So
to, like it has to
things.
be. I know what you mean. Yeah, but it's really just, it's like I've never had to work. I'm really excited that hopefully I can work at Race of Champions, which is something I'm like fingers crossed, toes crossed. That's like my like end all of be alls. Like I want to work at Race of Champions next year, right? But like I've watched Grand Prix as a fan. I've been at the Oz GP, but like it's so different to like even like watching at home. Watching a Grand Prix at home as a fan, and then like watching a Grand Prix and taking notes down to write an article and everything like that. You don't think it's that different, but then when you actually like start thinking about it, you're like, oh my god, this is way different. Because like when you're watching it as a fan, it's kind of like, oh, there's no real pressure on me, and like you let your mind wander to all these things and all these possible scenarios that could happen and everything under the sun. You just start thinking about random things. Whereas when you're like kind of writing notes and taking notes down and everything like that, it's always like,
You're
okay,
so
like
focused.
make sure you get this down, make sure you do this, like what is happening, like, and there's always something happening in motorsports, and I think that's something that's really cool as well. Like it's even when it may be a boring race, you're always looking at the timings, you're always looking to see who's in the DRS, who could possibly make an overtake, who's got to pit, the strategies, the tyre offsets, I think that's what's so interesting about F1, because even when it's a boring race, it's not necessarily boring because there's a lot of aspects that go into it, which is going to be it's so interesting to watch and witness as well. I think, I don't know, that's why I love, like, working and, like, being a fan of F1 and motorsports in general.
But not every fan can eventually work. Like, that's something many people, like, realize, because it takes the fun away when you're sitting in a media center and that's where you have to watch the race. Because if you're writing in unless you're, like, a big team that can bring, like, 3 to 6 journalists on site, you know, you're sitting in the media center, you're not exactly watching the race unless someone offers to cover it from home, which is difficult, especially because I was in Asia. But yeah, I mean, it was fun in Las Vegas this time as well. I mean, last year I wasn't working. This year I did some pieces, like I did Lando post race. I didn't have the heart for anyone else to do it, so I started drinking water because I was not drinking water anymore. And I sat down and gave him a beautiful, I hope, 900-piece article, like 900-word article. I don't know how I got to 900 words, like, don't ask me that, but it turned into 900, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Are you excited for Qatar?
I'm so excited. I think that McLaren will do well again. Will do well this weekend. I say this every weekend. Like, if you know me, you know that I will say that McLaren will do well every single weekend. I'm just driven by delusion at this point. But I do think that McLaren will do well this weekend because I'm going off of what happened last year. And last year they were very good. So I'm just going to say McLaren will win this Grand Prix. They actually apparently they have the chance to win the championship, the Constructors' Championship in Qatar. Mm-hmm. They have to outscore Ferrari by 21 points to win the championship.
So Lando needs to win.
Lando needs to win. Oscar needs to be P2, and then both Ferraris need to have an absolute shocker. One needs to finish outside of the points, and then one needs to finish, like, P10. Like, that's what Ferrari needs to do. So I'm sorry, but I am praying for Ferrari's downfall this weekend. And we have F2 back. Oh my goodness, we have F2 back with a bunch of new faces. So I'm very excited about that. My question for you... My question for you is, who do you think is going to win this championship in Formula 2? And do you think that our queen, Abby Pulling, will win the championship in F1 Academy?
F1 Academy. I think Abby Pulling is going to go home with the championship, that is for sure. She is an amazing driver. You can see her dominance. I think Abby Pulling is definitely one to look out for. With F2, I have to be honest, I think it's... I'll have to research again who's in contention, because we have a bunch of new faces that came in. Because Colapinto was not really in contention anyways.
Yeah, he was like 10th. Hold on. I can tell you off the top of my head that
Zach O'Sullivan, I'm such a bad F2 journalist.
But
then again, they haven't raced in a while.
The last time they raced was like Baku. That's
Exactly.
a while ago. That's a very long time ago. But like, I can tell you right now, P1 and P2 are Gabriel Bortoleto and Isaac Hadjar, and they're separated by like 5 points. P3 on the other hand.
Then it's going to Hadjar for consistency.
So it's like
Hadjar has been very consistent.
And then Maloney is. Wait, no, Zane Maloney.
Maloney's
This is
out.
what I'm so concerned about. I'm confused about this, right? Because Zane Maloney mathematically can still win this championship.
But Zane's not racing.
Nah. They said, nah, like, Sack, you're not going to be racing. Or like he said, Sack, I'm not going to race for the rest of the season. So realistically, the only people who can win this championship are Bortoleto and Hadjar. Paul Aaron can still make a comeback, but he's on 133 points, so he'd have to make up a lot of points. Because it's like 169.5 is what Bortoleto is on. Can you imagine if Bortoleto loses his championship by 0.5 of a point? Like, or can you imagine if he wins by 0.5 of a point? Like, I just think that's hilarious. I think that's amazing, and I would love to see that happen, but I also would not like to see him lose the championship when I'm in Abu Dhabi, so I just think that would be really devastating for me to watch.
Let's just say he's your bias for F2.
He's
a Paul Aaron girl.
Like, I love Paul Aaron will always have a special place in my heart, but like Gabriel Bortoleto, like
he got his F1 seat, Tiana. We need to support Paul Aaron. Paul Aaron is a future Mercedes driver alongside Kimi Antonelli. There we go. That's a team.
Yep, that's what we need. But I also just don't want either of these. Like, I don't want Hadjar or Aaron to win this championship purely because I don't want them to add to the statistic of drivers who are F2 champions and then never make it to F1 or like don't make it to F1 the year after they won the championship. Because like we've been having that since Oscar Piastri won. And I just think that that's crazy, because Oscar Piastri won. He didn't go into F1 straight away. Teo Porcher won. Didn't go into F1. Does not look like he's going to go into F1 at all, really. Sauber have kind of forgotten about him. And then Felipe Dragovic, not getting into F1 anytime soon. So realistically, if Bortoleto wins this championship, he'll be the first driver that we see in quite some time to like graduate straight to F1 after winning the championship, which is really interesting. And I'm really excited for that.
Well, I guess we will wait and see.
We'll have to wait.
Because
but I'm really
Bortoleto
excited.
already has his seat, so I kind of want Hadjar to win it just for the sake, because he has
just
been
for the sake of it.
He's been very strong.
But then, do you think if Hadjar wins this championship, do you think it throws a spanner into the works for the last V-Carb seat?
I have to be honest. I think his name is already there with Lawson.
With Lawson? Do you think Colapinto's there?
Yuki. I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch to think that Colapinto is there at the very moment, because that would make Hadjar's blood boil ASAP. That's for sure.
Oh my god!
But
can you like? I would feel so bad for V-Carb if their driver lineup next year was Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac Hadjar. I'd feel so bad for their pit wall. Like, I just, like, they are both, like, I just always say that, like, Isaac Hadjar is a little French version of Yuki Tsunoda, and I will die on that hill. Like, they are the same person.
But a better driver, in my opinion. I mean...
Fair enough.
Here's the thing. Red Bull are... I'm not just saying this. I mean, obviously, like, this is Vegas. We know that Yuki out-qualified Oscar. We know that Yuki... has been improving very well, and you can see that race by race. However, it took a long time to get him there, and considering how Red Bull are very well known for swapping their drivers around, why haven't you swapped him out? Why do you stick with him so long? And maybe it's because of Honda. I mean, let's be real, it is because of Honda, and I'm so sorry for all the Yuki fans out there. I just think for a team that enjoys switching out their drivers when performance is not it, then they should have done that years ago with Yuki.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with Red Bull and V-Carb, it's so crazy to me that they have these... Like, they're known for being the most cutthroat and brutal team on the F1 grid, and, like, obviously Red Bull dropping and sacking all these drivers like Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo. The list literally goes on and on and on. But then you look at drivers who have not been performing to their standards, like drivers like Yuki Tsunoda, like drivers like Sergio Perez. And I love Yuki Tsunoda, and I believe that he's a very talented driver. However, if you were holding all of these drivers to the same standard that you were holding drivers like Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon to, they would have been gone a long time ago. Like, for reference, like, I think, what was it? There was like a really crazy stat to me. What I think is really funny as well is that Red Bull drops so many people from their driver academy the second they aren't performing. And Red Bull have one of the largest driver academy in the feeder series. And if you have, like, 2 bad race weekends in a row, like, you'll get a call up from Helmut Marko and be like, hey, like, what are you doing? I genuinely think that if Sergio Perez was in Red Bull's junior academy, he would no longer be in the driver academy. He would have been sacked a long time ago. And, like, it's no hate to Sergio Perez. I just think the way that he has been performing in Formula 1, if he was performing like that in F2 or F3, he would no longer be part of the Red Bull family. Because we've seen drivers in F2 and F3 be a part of, like, someone like Casper. He was a part of the Red Bull team for, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? Like, a very short time at that. And then wasn't performing. And it was just like, oops, sorry, like, you're actually not going to be part of our team anymore. And he was just kind of dumped.
And now they have Solov.
Yeah, that confuses me. Like, I don't think I'll ever understand that. I had a feeling that Alpine were going to get rid of him after his big bomber clad incident, but I did not think that Red Bull were going to pick him up. I honestly could not have predicted that one. I just remember that so vividly, and I remember people getting so mad at me for saying, like, this is just really funny. Like, they were like, oh, like, he's a teenage boy, let him live. I'm like, yeah, he's a teenage boy, but, like, also, if that was anyone that I was friends with or anyone in my grade, they would also be bullied like this. For posting a video like that onto the internet for everyone to see. And thinking, like, the worst part is that they thought that there was nothing wrong with it. And it's just like, come on, how can you not see how bad? Like, they watched it back, and they were like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. We're going to post this. This is going to get them all. I don't know. Bring back unmedia trained drivers is what I say. And I will die on that hill. I love when drivers aren't media trained.
Everyone in Vegas was so beautifully media trained. I mean, you had all of these celebrities. You had Gordon Ramsay with his tuna that needed a paddock pass, for God's sake.
Oh my gosh.
So, like, if you can describe the Las Vegas GP in one word. In one word.
Depressing? I don't know. Like, I'd say depressing just for Lando Norris' sake, but iconic would be another word. I feel like it was iconic because there was just so much that happened, you could not keep up with it. It was just like so many iconic things happened all at once. Like, Mercedes won 2, George Russell winning, Max Verstappen champion of the world, like, Williams, don't know what's happening there, but wasn't really iconic. Joe Guanyu getting past Franco Colapinto and saying see you later Colapinto after Franco said in, like, the media he doesn't care if his teammate is Verstappen or Joe, he just wants to beat them, was actually the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I love when drivers are sassy on the radio. It's like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah. I have to say, I would describe it as underwhelming. I kind of enjoyed last year's race much better.
I agree.
With the exception of the manhole, like the drain cover issue, like that in itself is like a whole situation. But yeah.
I think I was looking forward to Vegas because it's like what happened last year and all the shenanigans that F1 got up to, like, during the Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend. I think that's what I was so excited to. Like, the lead up of the Las Vegas Grand Prix last year was so exciting. Like, bring back the Netflix Cup, guys. Like, I will die on this hill. I will die on the hill of bringing back the Netflix Cup. We need it back in Formula 1. It was the best thing ever. Like, maybe with a different sport. I don't care. But just bring it back.
Rugby.
Because it was so rugby. Oh my god.
No, wait, let's not do rugby. Let's do it after the
so
GP.
Funny. Yeah, okay, so at the end of the season, we're gonna do... I actually think that during... when they all come to Australia, like, when they come to Australia for the AusGP, they should be doing, like, rugby. Like, go to the home... The rugby league, I don't care. Like, go to rugby league, I don't care. Like, you are in Melbourne, the home of the Melbourne Storm. You gotta go to the Melbourne Storm and you gotta do some rugby league, guys. Like, come on, guys. And, like, as well, like... my rugby league team, the Penrith Panthers, have won 4 championships in a row, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And I'm saying the Max Verstappen to the Penrith Panthers pipeline is so real, because every single year they have won a championship, Max Verstappen has won. And I literally said, Max Verstappen is going to win the championship this year because the Panthers won. And I was right. So I'm in desperate need.
On this?
I think I did. This is definitely a PowerPoint presentation moment. I just think that this...
You should pitch that to Red Bull.
I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to pitch this to Red Bull. I'm going to pitch this to Red Bull and Penrith Panthers. Hey guys, so like what you desperately need, a Panthers x Red Bull Racing collaboration, because it would just be so iconic and I would eat it up. And then you can credit me with the idea, because like I was one that came up with it. So I was there when the pipeline was just starting out. But yeah, I don't know. I think that next year Vegas needs to step up its game. It's Vegas. Like if you're going to advertise the Vegas Grand Prix as this marquee Grand Prix that you want to attend, you have to start doing more. Like, yes, everyone was like, you did too much last year. Okay, maybe the Hunger Games kind of ceremony was a bit too much. Okay, like, we'll have to draw the line there. Maybe not the Hunger Games ceremony again, because that was crazy. Those drivers looked like they were about to, like, go into battle. But, like, just a few more events. Like, that's all I want. Like, a few more events here and there. And realistically, that can all be solved with the Netflix Cup. I rest my case.
Yeah, you make a really good point with that one. I agree. I think concerts, okay, you had like Boys to Men, you had Ludacris, but I think because Vegas is so big and it attracted so many different stars, I think you could do a lot more with that. It's supposed to be a spectacle, but you also have to respect the wishes of the driver, because they're essentially flipping their time zones for you. Like everything starts later than it's supposed to be. Like I came home at 8 in the morning and then I was out again by 5 p.m. and that to me is very weird. It makes me feel like a college party girl or something. And you know, like the battle thing, like the announcer for me is enough.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him.
He was very iconic this weekend, but I love that, and I think that Vegas, like you said, it's such a spectacle. Like F1 advertises it like it is this massive spectacle, and I know you necessarily don't want to get drivers involved in a bunch of things, but it does not necessarily have to be getting drivers involved in things during a race weekend, like Thursday to Sunday, or Thursday to Saturday, right? Like, or Wednesday to Saturday even, because obviously media day is on the Wednesday. You don't have to get them involved during that time, because that time, you've got to respect that is their Grand Prix preparation time. That is their working time. They're at work. They are doing what they need to do to win championships and stuff like that, right? But, like, at the start of the week, like events here and there, or, like, media events and stuff like that, even, like, this is such a good opportunity for F1 to have, like, I think that a lot of people's criticism to F1 is that they don't really have a lot of, like, charity events like other sports do. Like, other sports have a lot of, like, they do a lot of charity events and stuff like that. That would be such a good moment to have, like, your charity soccer games and stuff like that, your charity football matches. Because, yes, it's still an amazing spectacle for fans to watch, and it's very funny to see, like, F1 drivers try to play a different sport and everything like that, but you're also raising money for a good cause. And you're killing 2 birds with one stone. You're making 2 groups of fans very happy. And I think that is, once again, F1, if you are looking for someone to operate your Las Vegas Grand Prix for the 2025 season, Chiara and I are available. We will be handing in our resumes, and you can check them out, and we will do well for you. Like, I promise. The 2025 Las Vegas Grand Prix isn't ready for what Chiara and Tiana are about to handle, like, or what we're about to, like, speak on to you guys.
We'll get Justin Bieber to do an Eras tour, you know, like Las Vegas.
We're actually gonna get, like, everyone to do an Eras tour. So it's, like, going to be Justin Bieber one night, then it's going to be Taylor Swift. She's going to come out of retirement to do it. Then we're going to have, like, Ariana Grande, and she's going to do an Eras tour. Who else would I really love to see do an Eras tour? I don't even know. Maybe, like, I don't know. But, like, Adele will sing Skyfall. Adele will sing Skyfall.
Everyone was waiting for this.
F1 is such a big opportunity there, and I know the social media people in F1. I know they've seen Skyfall edits.
Actually, Adele
Actually,
would have
okay.
sung the national anthem. I know
Who
she's
sung
not
the national
American.
anthem?
Boys to Men. I know she's not American, but I
Oh.
think that would have been iconic.
That would have been so iconic. Can she sing the... She's British, right?
She
Can
could have
she sing
sung
British
George.
national?
Yeah, she could have sung like "God Save
Can
the
she...
King."
Yeah, she could have. Oh my god, stop. That would be... Like, can we do, like, live renditions of it when they're, like, on the podium? Because I just feel like that would be so good.
Max got a live rendition when he won Sanford last year.
Oh my god. See, why don't we do... Why didn't Lewis get one this year? Why has Lewis never got a live rendition
God
of
knows.
God Save the King or God Save the Queen?
Only God knows.
FIA, we've got questions, we've got beef, as you couldn't already tell. I've got so much beef with the FIA sometimes, it's actually crazy.
I think everyone has that every once in a while. IA, Carlos Sainz's supposed penalty.
Supposed penalty?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think Vegas was still a big show. It was fun. Mm-hmm. It was okay. Like, racing was okay. I think because of the way the track is laid out, you know, it makes a lot of room for good overtakes and stuff, but I don't know if it's always worth it to go because of the price and everything. But we only have 2 more races left into the season. We have Qatar and Abu Dhabi coming up. We already know who the world champion is, but we don't know who the Constructors' Championship is.
I'm so excited for that battle. I'm very hyped.
So that's essentially... So all eyes are on the Constructors' Championship for the coming 2 races. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a wild ride for all of us. It's going to be chaos. And I think because a lot of drivers are leaving us, we all have to, you know, make sure that Valtteri Bottas, Joe get a goodbye that they deserve.
But, like, my real question is...
And Colapinto!
And Franco, I'm ready. I'm not ready for this. I'm just, like, sitting here emotionally thinking, like, you're gonna find me in such a state after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Like, I'm gonna be sitting in that stand, and I don't think anyone can, like, actually move me from that stand. Just because I just would start thinking about all, like, I think the 2024 F1 season has just been so crazy. Like, I'm not ready for it to end, if that makes sense. It's just been, like... It's been so twisty and turny. Like, you started off the season with Red Bull dominating. Red Bull 1-2 in both Grand Prix until we got to Australia. And you genuinely just thought that Red Bull were going to run away with it and was going to be a repeat of last year. And then it's been the exact opposite. We've had 7 different race winners in Formula 1. That's never happened before. Like I can't comprehend how the season has turned on its head. Like, I actually can't. And I ultimately think...
I guess you're just going to have to come back on and, like, review the season with me.
Yeah, I guess if this is you inviting me back, I guess I will. I guess.
Oh, you know you're going to be back. We have a lot to discuss.
I'm so excited. A lot to
Because let's not forget, you guys, as soon as F1 is over, Formula E is officially starting again.
I need to start watching Formula E, and the problem is that Formula E does not stream in Australia, so you have to buy, like, a separate streaming service to stream it in Australia, and it makes me so mad. And it's like, can I afford the $20 a month for this? Probably
20.
Not. But will I?
I pay
it's like $20 a month.
5.
That's crazy. It's like crazy here. Like, you have to pay it's actually like the price I pay to be a motorsport fan in Australia. The times, the money. Like, why am I even a motorsport fan? I ask.
What time was Las Vegas for you? I think it was a better time for you than it was for people.
Las Vegas was perfect. It was 5 p.m. I was, like, living my best life, but Qatar is evil. It's 2 a.m. And I'm like, oh.
Just remember, if you're doing the press conferences, to, you know...
to set alarms.
Do your hair. Because it's shown in the...
I'm so scared that, like, I'm going to, like... I always, like, put a jumper over, like, my pajamas, because I was, like, still wear my pajamas, because I'm, like, I'm not changing my clothes just so I can go, get out of my bed, sit here, and then go back into my bed. But I'll put on a jumper, right? And I'm always so scared that one day I'll forget to put on a jumper, and I'll just be wearing my pajamas in the middle of this press conference, and they're going to be like, what the heck is this girl wearing?
I've done
That's,
that.
like, my number one fear. Oh my gosh.
But in a different way. So, fun fact for people listening, chaos being chaos, during the Australian GP,
Oh, no.
I literally came back home from the 1975 concert and I still had like the glitter on and everything. And Dennis Hauger was like looking at me like, is she okay?
Is she, like, why has she got glitter on her face? Like, is she okay?
I was like, that's because I was barricaded in front of Matt Healy. You know, living my life. I have a life outside of this job too.
Like, sorry that not all of our lives revolve around motorsport and Formula One. Like, that's my bad. My bad for having a life, really.
Yep. I mean, let's not forget, after these last 2 races were done until March, if you're just solely an F1, F2, F3 fan. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's time to start making plans outside of motorsport now. And on that note, like, that's literally all Chaos has time for today, because Tiana and I have lives, and Tiana and I are going to go continue stalking our F2 drivers because we need to get our shit in order, because they're racing again this week, as we said, and Qatar is this week. So stay tuned for our Qatar review podcast as well.
Yes, I'm so excited. Love you. Yes, I love you all. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Chiara, for having me on. I love this. It was actually so fun. I love when I like do a podcast and it doesn't feel like a podcast. It just feels like I'm speaking, and I that was exactly what this was. And I feel like you guys got that as well through us. So thank you for having me on, and I can't wait to be on to review the F1 season eventually.
Eventually, because we're all going to need a break afterwards. But yes, like I said, that was Chaos in the Paddock, everyone. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media sites, and that is at Chaos in the Paddock on every single social media platform that you have. And Tiana, go tell them your social media again.
Just from the field to the track on every single social media platform. And yeah, love you all. And we'll see you in the next one, I guess.
Have a good day, night, afternoon, morning, evening. Wherever I don't know. I don't care. Wherever you are.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh.